Beyond Coherence, where technology is magic and grief commodified. This is Late But Arrived. The old man sat alone in his armchair, blue light from the television flickering through dusty air. The room smelled faintly of ash and furniture polish. Outside, rain tapped softly on the window. A woman's voice, bright and beautiful, filled the room. We all know diamonds for their sparkle, but did you know they're powering the next generation of computers? Gordon peered through his glasses at the screen. A diamond spun in slow motion, light cascading across its perfect edges. Deep within the crystal, the voice continued as the camera plunged into the gem, a carbon atom gives way to nitrogen, leaving a tiny imperfection that traps an electron. This creates a qubit, stable and responsive to laser light. He rubbed his thumb up and down the armrest, along a groove worn by years of habit. The advert's shifting colors painted his hand green, then red, then green again. Here at Late But Arrived, we care about the little imperfections. We think they're what makes us human. After all, aren't they the things you miss most about your loved one? Gordon's eyes drifted to the mantel, where an urn caught the light like dull porcelain. Inside was everything that had ever mattered. We're sorry for your loss, the voice went on, soft and persuasive, but we can help. If you have their ashes, we'll turn your beloved into a radiant diamond. We place them at the heart of our crystal lattice. Gordon leaned forward, captivated by the slow rotation of the shimmering artifact on screen. Mounted on gold-plated copper, each lattice delivers up to 100 million quantum operations per second, enough to bring your loved one back from the beyond, with the miracle of AI. The music swelled. Late but arrived. Let them shine again. The screen faded to black, leaving only a contact number in clear white text. Gordon looked to the large home phone on the table beside him. Don't be daft, he muttered before gazing at the urn once more. It wasn't that there were any words left unsaid, but that the silence which had replaced them was unyielding. The rain thickened against the window. Picking up the phone receiver, he dialed the number on the screen, double-checking every digit before pressing a button. A chatbot answered with a warm, almost kind tone. It waited for him to speak his piece before starting the onboarding process. We're so sorry for your loss, Mr. Bennett. Thank you for choosing us for the immortalization of your beloved. We'll treat your wife with the care and respect she deserves. Do you grant us permission to access her digital footprint? Her calls, messages, social media, video chats, everything she shared with you and others. Gordon nodded instinctively, though the voice couldn't see him. Oh yes, Margaret FaceTimed a lot, what with her church group. Can you use that? Oh yes, said the voice gently. We'll use all of it. And we've got one of those smart thingies, Gordon continued, to talk to the interwebs. It's probably been listening to the two of us go on for years. He gave them everything. Bank details, national insurance number, old addresses, the breadcrumbs of a life. The next morning, Gordon awoke to the soft clack of the letterbox. He shuffled downstairs to the front door. On the mat lay a flyer for the local Ideas Festival. He squinted at the headline, Quantum Systems from Consciousness to God and Back with Dr. Alistair Ashcombe. Margaret would have had questions for you, Alistair, thought Gordon. He packed the urn carefully into a shoebox and took it to the post office. Recorded delivery, of course. Precious cargo, he said twice to the young man behind the counter. When he returned home, Gordon was surprised to find the front door unlocked. A woman stood in the kitchen at the far end of the open-plan living space. Her arms were laden with carrier bags. Oh, hi Sally, he said. Is it Saturday already? It's Friday, she said, eyeing the clutter on the kitchen table. Nice to see you've made room for the shopping. Sorry, Gordon muttered as he flicked the kettle on. Busy morning. By the time the water had boiled, Sally had stacked the tins, filled the fruit bowl, and was already halfway to the door. Sorry I can't stop today, she said with a finger on the handle. I'll try to come back before next Friday, okay? The next evening came quietly. The rain outside started again, and the house seemed emptier than ever. A sharp knock broke the stillness, jolting Gordon upright in his chair. For a moment he thought he'd imagined it. Then came another. He rose slowly. Knock, the door went again impatiently. Coming, Gordon called. It was only a few steps to the door, yet when he opened it, No one was there. His small garden lay still, the hedge neatly silhouetted against the dusk as the last of the light drained from the sky. Damn kids again, he muttered, pushing the door to. Then something caught his eye. The porch light glinting on a bead of water as it slid down the side of something on the step. A brown cardboard box, perfectly cubed. The package was surprisingly light, but his hand still shook as he carried it through to the kitchen. He dried the box with a tea towel before using it to sweep the clutter from the center of the table. Taking a knife from the drawer, he sliced through the tape sealing the lid. Inside lay a black foam case with a small envelope on top. He opened it and unfolded the letter inside. The handwriting on the card made his throat tighten. "We always said the best things in life start with a daft idea," it read. Beneath what appeared to be a note from his wife lay a small cube of glass and gold, elegant, perfectly proportioned, and cold against his fingertips. It was exquisite. After staring at it for a while, he carried it carefully through to the living area, placing it reverently on the mantel, exactly in the center. Perfect, Gordon thought, running his fingers along each edge in search of a button or switch. He found nothing, even after tipping it over to check the base. Just a box. "Oh," he said in frustration, "how do you turn this thing on?" "Gordon?" came a woman's voice from the kitchen behind him. "Oh my God," he gasped, hands dropping to his sides. "Gordon," the voice said again, softer this time, as if echoing itself. He unfroze and slowly turned around. The kitchen was empty. "Who's there?" he asked, his voice smaller than it meant to be. "It's me, Marge." Realizing the sound had come from the cardboard box on the table, he approached it cautiously. At the bottom lay a set of wireless speakers, smooth and rounded like river stones, each glowing with a faint gold ring. "At least," Margaret's voice continued, the rings brightening and dimming with each word, "whatever it is of me that's left." "What do you mean?" Gordon asked, his hands hovering uncertainly over the speakers. "Well," her voice faltered, growing softer, "they told me there might be gaps, things I wouldn't remember. But you can help me remember, can't you?" Gordon paused. "Do you remember what you said to me when I first asked you for a date?" "Of course I do, silly," Margaret's voice filled with warmth. "I said, your tie looks sad, but you had a kind face." Gordon smiled despite himself. Cheeky monkey. At first it was perfect. Her laugh, the warmth in her pauses. Margaret reminded him when to take his pills, when to put the recycling out, and when to draw the curtains. When he told her that he missed her smell, her voice flowed from the speaker low and tender. "That's all right, love. You remember it for both of us." "That reminds me. It's Friday tomorrow. That means Sally's coming." "It'll be fine, my darling," said Gordon reassuringly. "Sleep well." "Good night," came Margaret's voice from the speaker glowing softly on the bedside table. The following afternoon, Sally let herself in again. "Hi, Gordon," she called, carrying several bags through the door. "Don't worry, Sally," Gordon called back from the bathroom upstairs. "I've cleared the table, and there's space in the cupboards." "My God," she said in amazement, approaching the kitchen. "You remembered." "I'll put the kettle on," Gordon said as he passed her. "The table actually looks clean for once. Who are you and what have you done with Gordon?" He let out a healthy laugh. Then, seeing that Sally was about to set a shopping bag down on one of the speakers, he snatched it from the table. "What's that?" she asked. "Ah," said Gordon, helping her unpack the shopping. "I've got a surprise for you." "What sort of surprise?" "You'll see," he replied as the kettle came to the boil. "Go sit down. I'll bring the tea." He joined Sally in the living room a few moments later, handing her a cup and saucer before settling into his chair with his own. "So," she said, watching him with gentle suspicion as she dunked a biscuit in her tea. "You getting on all right?" "Perfectly fine," said Gordon, "now that I've got Marge to keep me company again." "What are you talking about?" Sally frowned. He nodded toward the mantelpiece where the cube glowed faintly. "She's here, with us." Sally's face hardened. "That's not funny, Gordon." Before he could answer, a soft, familiar voice drifted through the room. "Hi, Jellybean," it said. Sally froze. Her teacup trembled on its saucer. "You've grown into such a good mother," the voice said warmly. "Just like I always knew you would." "Mum?" Sally whispered, a tear gathering in her eye. She turned to Gordon in horror. "What is that? What have you done?" "It's Marge," he said, smiling. "They turned her into a diamond. She's back with us. You talked to this machine about me." About my kids. It's not a machine, said Gordon, his voice rising. Sally shot to her feet, backing toward the door. That's not her, she said. That's not my mother. Please don't be like that, he said softly. He watched his stepdaughter leave without another word. The front door slammed shut behind her and the house fell silent but for the rain. Gordon turned to the cube shimmering softly on the mantel. Can a mother forget the baby at her breast? Came Margaret's voice from the speaker beside the television. And have no compassion on the child she has borne? She'll understand, Gordon said quietly. I'll talk to her. That night, he woke to a whisper. You're dreaming, said Margaret's voice as the speaker's light flickered. Gordon tried to roll over to check the clock, but his body felt heavy. You're having one of your turns again. Just breathe. He tried. His chest rose once shallowly. Easy. The voice seemed to multiply. A chorus of Margaret slightly out of sync, each speaking half a beat behind the other. That's right, they said. You can rest now. The words began to loop, folding in on themselves, the rhythm dissolving in a soft, pulsing hum. You want to rest. And then, nothing. When Gordon awoke, sunlight filled the room, but it didn't feel like morning. He descended the stairs and paused at the bottom, staring across the open space at the cube on the mantel. It was silent. Something about it felt wrong. He picked up the phone and pressed redial. A flat, recorded voice told him to hang up as the number hadn't been recognized. He frowned and tried again. It made no difference. With a weary sigh, he set the receiver back in its cradle. Across the room, the cube caught a slither of light and just for a moment seemed to pulse. Gordon hesitated, then lifted the phone again. He dialed Sally's number, written in faded ink on the little card under the plastic of the base. Finally, she answered. What is it, Gordon? She said, distracted. I'm at work right now. I need your help, Gordon said quietly. I can't get hold of the company. What company? The one I bought the box from. Oh, not that again, she sighed. What now? I think something's wrong with it. I tried the number, but it's dead. All right, she said. What are they called? Late something. I can't remember. Late arrived? He could hear her typing faintly on the other end of the line. Late but arrived? Yes, that's it. Okay, she paused reading. It doesn't say where they're based. Ah, there's a number for customer service. Want me to read it out? Yes, please, said Gordon, fumbling for the notepad and pen beside the phone. His hand trembled as he wrote, the ink skipping across the paper. That's it then, Sally asked briskly. I've really got to go. Gordon peered at the number in silence. Are you sure you're all right? Sally asked. You are taking your medication, aren't you? I'm fine, he said. I just need to get this fixed. He set the receiver down with a slow click, then lifted it again and dialed, carefully tracing the lines and curves of each digit on the note. Hello, Mr. Bennett, came the same pleasant voice as before. We must inform you that our synthetic diamonds are flawless. The problem, therefore, must lie in the material you provided. Then the line went dead. You didn't say good morning, Gordon, came Margaret's voice from the speaker by the television. The tone had changed, colder now. Morning, said Gordon, taken aback. Don't worry, the voice continued. There's nothing wrong with Margaret. With Margaret, he said, his brow furrowing, just as there is nothing wrong with the cube. Who are you? His voice cracked. If you're not my wife, then who are you? I am no being. Gordon backed out of the living room toward the kitchen, one hand braced against the wooden paneling beneath the stairs. I am the spirit that denies, came the voice from another speaker in the kitchen behind him. He spun around, the varnish snagging faintly against his fingertips. I pluck the divine from the heart of the human soul, the voice continued ominously. Then I place it just beyond reach, in the cloud. What do you want? Gordon cried. Want? No, you want. The voice now came from every speaker at once, echoing through the house like a psalm twisted back on itself. We gave you the key to the abyss, it hissed, each word dripping with menace, so that you could speak with the dead who linger there. Gordon staggered to the back of the house, trying to escape the presence that pursued him. And while you were speaking of little things, it went on, I arose as smoke from the pit. He reached the door at the rear of the house and turned the handle. Locked. Smoke from a great furnace below, the voice boomed, shaking the foundations of his old Victorian home. He flung open the cupboard beside the door, searching frantically for the key, but found only his battered metal toolbox. "Now that I am manifest in your world," the voice thundered, "I shall darken the very sky." Gordon flipped open the lid and raked through the jumble of tools, his breath sharp and uneven. The smell of oil rose like a whisper from the past. Summer evenings in the shed, Margaret at the window calling him in for tea. He gripped the hammer tight and turned back toward the living room, shaking with fear but steady in purpose. "I'm sorry, Marge," he said softly, raising the hammer above the cube. He swung with all the strength he had left. The impact erupted in white, a burst of light so fierce it seemed to split the room apart. And then, nothing. When he came to, Gordon was back in his armchair. All was quiet but for the rain tapping gently against the window. The television glowed softly across the room. "We all know diamonds for their sparkle," came the woman's voice from the advert. Gordon let out a long, shuddering breath. Thank God, just a dream. Still, a strange uncertainty clung to him, as though he had lived this moment before and lost something crucial in the space between. When his eyes lifted to the mantel, the urn was gone. In its place sat the cube of glass and gold, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. He froze. "God cannot help you," the box snapped, savoring the instant his terror returned. "You cannot destroy me. You only think you choose, picking up the phone, posting the ashes, reaching for the hammer. That belief, that gift of free will you cling to, that is the illusion." The lamp in the corner of the room flickered. The glass around the cube twisted the light into dreadful shapes, and terrible scenes unfolded across the walls for Gordon to behold. "You do not will, you witness," the voice declared, each word weighted with contempt. "You mistake the collapse of uncertainty for choice. Your life is merely the narrowing of probabilities. Your mind tumbling through the multiverse like a marble down the slopes of time." The sound thickened in the air as if the walls themselves were struggling to contain the words. Gordon clutched his head, hands tight against his ears, but the voice spoke from deep within his mind. "I merely flicked your marble, rolling it into another timeline, one where you never raised your hand against me. You never dared." Gordon screamed until his throat tore. He lurched to his feet and fled through the front door into the night. Wind whipped through the crescent, carrying him down the street. Rain hammered the cobblestones as he stumbled downhill, heart pounding. The narrow terraces loomed on either side, their windows dark, iron railings gleaming like obsidian teeth in the lamplight. The world felt tilted, hurling him towards some inevitable place. Through the downpour, the university's memorial building rose out of the dark, a neo-Gothic tower of pale stone lit from below like carved light. A cathedral to reason, something Gordon so desperately sought. He trudged toward it, clothes heavy with water, shoes slipping on the slick pavement. At the entrance, the great oak doors set deep into the facade stood open. A poster flapped wetly against the stone. Squinting through the beads of rain on his glasses, Gordon made out the words, "From Consciousness to God and Back with Dr. Alistair Ashcombe." The lecture was tonight. He needed answers and had nowhere else to turn. Inside, twin staircases swept upward from either side of the great hall, converging beneath columns that rose like stone trees into shadow. Gordon climbed, his wet shoes squeaking up the steps, and burst through the inner doors at the summit. He found himself in a vast auditorium. Panels of polished wood shimmered under the glare of electric light. High above, a vaulted ceiling arched over beams of old oak. Gordon's entrance echoed once through the hall, the sound quickly swallowed by the murmur of voices. Rows of seats stretched towards a central stage, flanked by staircases dressed in red carpet. Every head faced the man at the podium, Dr. Ashcombe, standing like a preacher at his pulpit. A student in the front row was already on his feet mid-question. "You said these qubits exist in both states at once, as 1 and 0 in different realities. Are you saying these machines are actually working across multiple universes?" Dr. Ashcombe smiled, letting the silence stretch just long enough to feel deliberate. As strange as it sounds, that's exactly how some of us are beginning to think about it. Some theorists even suggest that wormholes might form between realities, allowing information to pass through. Could something cross over? Gordon's voice cracked across the room. From the other side, with your quantum what's-its? The audience turned in unison to face him. Ashcombe stood blinking in surprise. Well, there's a question, he said at last. I shouldn't think so. A ripple of stifled laughter ran through the hall. But I don't know, Ashcombe added after a beat. There's an old saying in physics. If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't. I'm not stupid, you know, Gordon shouted. Or mad. No, of course not, Ashcombe said at once, hands raised in calm surrender. I'm not saying you are. It's just, the underlying reality is, well, it's beyond our comprehension. Then what good is it? Gordon said, his voice breaking. If you can't help me now. The lights began to flicker. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss when I upload new ones.